Here we are at the Reversing Falls Rapids in St. John, New Brunswick, Canada, where the mighty Bay of Fundy meets the St. John River and creates the unique phenomenon that is the Reversing Falls. What we have happening here at low tide, our St. John River runs down and empties out into the bay just like you would expect any river to run down and empty out into the bay. But what's different here is the Bay of Fundy has the highest tides in the world. Here in St. John, they come up about 28 vertical feet, and further up the bay, they come up as high as 50 feet, which is higher than a 4-story building. So at low tide, the St. John River rushes down, empties out into the bay, just like you would expect. So if you can imagine, this hand is the St. John River, this hand is the Bay of Fundy. Low tide looks like this. But as our Bay of Fundy tides start to rise, they start to push on the river, and they cause the river to slow down and come to almost a complete stop. That's called a slack tide. And during that time, this water is completely still. It looks just like a lake. It lasts for about 20 minutes, and it's only during that 20-minute period that any boats can pass back and forth here. So at slack tide, if this is the St. John River, this is the Bay of Fundy, it looks like this. But the Bay of Fundy tides don't stop there, and they continue to rise, and they continue to push on the river, and they cause the river to reverse on itself. So it's flowing backwards, and the effect of the current going backwards can be felt for 80 miles up the river. So at high tide, if this is the St. John River, this is the Bay of Fundy, high tide looks like this. Then the Bay of Fundy tides start to go out. It comes to another point where that bay and river are completely even, another slack tide for another 20 minutes. It looks like this. And then the Bay of Fundy tides go all the way out. The river rushes down and empties out into the bay in a fantastic series of rapids and whirlpools, and that looks like this. It takes about 12.5 hours to go from low tide all the way around to low tide again. And often people ask us, why is this called the Reversing Falls Rapids when we don't actually have waterfalls right here? In actual fact, the water just beside me is about 36 feet deep. But just underneath the bridge behind me, the water is well over 200 feet deep. So if we could lift out the Bay of Fundy, you would see fantastic waterfalls here. But because of the highest tides in the world moving in and out of this location every day, the most you ever see is the rapids and the whirlpools. Thanks for joining us here at the Aquilacademy today. Remember to subscribe and stay tuned for what's coming next.